It's amazing how much work needs to happen in order to go on vacation to not work.
It's also amazing how you can manage to drop your iPhone on your face and bruise your cheek.
Only you, Heather. Well, it's cold in this house, and my heater sort of works, but not well enough, so I wore a down jacket to bed last night.
Like a sleeping bag. I got humped by a wolf, and other stories coming right up.
Oh my goodness. Have such a good day. Hello, world, and welcome to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just
Ooh, just kind of like, I'm like feeling weird with my voice. It's like it's been a minute, Sarah. Episode 167? How long has it been?
It has been a solid
month and a half.
Everybody who is a patron and or a supporter of us knows that we've been kind of underground.
We have been
for
MIA,
for a minute,
if you will.
for a minute, and
We're so happy to be back.
we will get into that, yes, but we are so happy to be back.
Yeah, and if this is the first time you're tuning in, this is the show that unpacks the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment. How are you all doing out there since we last talked?
Yeah, no effing shit. Depending on where you might live, I am currently wearing my North Face jacket.
Yeah, you are bundled up today.
Well, I'm very bundled up. I've had heating issues in my house, and I know that if you live somewhere that gets lower than 30 degrees Fahrenheit, you kind of go like, eye roll. It's not that bad, Sarah, but which is true. But man, it's cold. It is cold.
It's been, I've experienced some pretty wild cold mornings and evenings here lately. I will say, however, today is quite warm, and I'm in my office, and I'm wearing kind of like a t-shirt, and it feels like a summer day. So I don't know, this wacky climate change for you.
A little bit of that. So let's get right into it. Heather, you have, and everybody in our Discord kind of knows. I don't really know anybody, anything more than the Discord knows, because Heather has been a little underground about what she's been doing the last month or so. But I know you've been working on a film, so tell us.
So yeah, I'll try to, Sarah, I often don't have a filter, so I have to be careful what I say, because a lot of it does need to stay on the DL until it gets, I don't know, press release or something gets out there. But yeah, so the reason why it's been about, I guess I've been on the movie for about 7 weeks now. So I think we had to kind of slow production on this show because I was working like a dog in pre-production for 3 weeks before we started filming. So we spent the last month filming all over Humboldt County, all over California. In fact, it's like a lot further and wider than I expected from my house. So it was a lot of driving, but like kind of, I felt like I was, I don't know, like some days I felt like I was in Jurassic Park or something, because it was like 4 a.m. It was dark outside. It was fog. It was rain. I often had to drive an hour, maybe more, to the sets, and they were really deep in the forest, or they were deep down by a river, or they were, somewhere just basically deep. We were up on top of mountains. There was days where I was in the snow. It was a very wild exterior only movie, meaning we did not have any interior shots. Everything was shot outside in the winter-ish. I guess it was sort of fall, but turning into winter, so you can imagine. But so we spent 3 weeks in pre-production, which I was just here locally. But I was just so busy. We were working, 12, 14-hour days.
Yeah, I barely spoke to you because you were so busy.
Oh, I had no...
You were just heads down.
Oh, literally, I had to I felt like I was running to shower. I couldn't even take care of myself. I wasn't cooking. I couldn't do anything. In fact, I even stopped. This is actually a good example. I stopped making my espresso in the morning because, that's a little bit more effort. You pack it in and you're making your steam milk. And I took out an old quick coffee machine because I did not have the time. Getting up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm not going to laboriously like make a cappuccino. I'm going to grab a coffee and I'm going to go. And so, yeah, my life was definitely, it was mayhem. And at the same time, I had all these, plans to, those were the dates essentially. And I still have workers here kind of finishing the job, but I had contractors at the house doing my bathroom. And so it was mayhem at the house too. I had to like shower in our ADU next door this whole time that I've been on the movie, which like added like a little like insanity, to the mix. Cause like I had to like,
Especially at 4:30 in the morning where you're just
yeah,
like, oh my God,
I'm like running over there with
I
my
just want to
robe
be a
on.
human. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, I got like my hair wrapped in a towel and I'm like running across the yard and it's like really cold out. Yeah. Like really early in the morning or like late at night. And so my schedule was just totally turned upside down, but I knew that that was going to happen. Like when I took the job, I was like actually out of town and they were like, "Can you start Monday?" And it was like I think I took the job on like Saturday, the Saturday prior. And I was like, "Man, if I do this," I even warned my boyfriend. I'm like, "If I do this, you're going to kind of have to step up and do some, stuff that I'm normally doing." And I mean, there was just literally no way around it. But it was a very, very heavy mix of like super incredible and super challenging. So like kind of, those things, and I know you can relate to this, Sarah. I mean, not just like in terms of production, but just life, like the ups and the downs. And there was it was a bit of a roller coaster. When you have 3 weeks of pre-production for a feature length movie, that is not a long time to get your ducks in a row.
No.
And
I mean, I've
so,
never worked on a film,
oh,
actually. I mean, I worked in TV for, years and years, but not anything like this.
yeah, it's wild. I mean, like I said, it was all exterior. So like, we had base camps. So like every location, we had like, I don't know, gosh, at least 20 locations. And then we had these base camps. So, cause we couldn't, we can't have all these trailers. You have makeup trailers, you have vehicles, you have like lots of stuff, you have tents, and you've got like a catering booth, and you have bathrooms, and they call them honey wagons. They're just like glorified, porta potties. And so you need space. So like you have to basically
Honey
rent a
wagons.
space. Yeah, they're called honey wagons. It's
I
just
love
like
that.
they
Yeah.
have like, wallpaper.
Not a lot of honey
and-
happening, but okay.
but it actually, it does have like a very sort of on the nose meaning. You can Google it if you want, but yeah. So it's like we had to have a base camp. So like we'd have to like drop like Google pins to anyone coming to set. Like if we had an animal wrangler or like a special guest or whatever it was, they needed to get to the base camp to get to us to do their bit on set. Like we had to send them like a Google pin because like where we were was like in the middle of nowhere, and it's like hard to get to. And so it was just like a very like covert, like mysterious, interesting experience. I mean, very, 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 very wild in a lot of ways, wild in terms of nature. I've never been in such like wild locations, just in terms of like, yeah, like forest, but like untouched forest, not like places where people are like hiking all day. It's just like very, very
Yeah.
remote areas. We had a lot of animals in the movie, which was kind of a big part of what, I was sourcing a lot of those. I mean, lots of animals, as I think some have some of you have gleaned from like my Instagram, but boy, yeah. And then just the wild animals that cross the road when you're driving that early and that late at night, in the dark. I mean, I've never driven so many harrowing. I'm not joking. I mean, we were all worried as producers, like, everybody please drive safe. I mean, these roads and
Yeah,
these
yeah.
paths to our base camps and
Yeah,
to set.
with like very thick fog.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
the
dark,
visibility is like
and
zero.
there might be a deer, or
Yep.
who even knows?
Yeah, and also, so like from the base camp, we were still anywhere from several miles to 10 miles deep. So like even if you're at base camp working and you need to go to set, you have to get like there's a lot of like running to set. And we have walkie-talkies, and sometimes the walkie-talkies wouldn't work because the sets were too far from base camp. So there was a lot of communication stuff, but it was the content of the movie, what the movie's about is very fun and cool and very unique and original. unconventional, funny. It's a comedy of sorts. Really great talent, and even just the prosthetics team, and just like the people that kind of came far and wide. They're just really talented people that came to work on this, and to see every day it being nothing, like a blank canvas, and then creating, like, that's what's so wonderful about this. And obviously we do it as TV producers, and we've done a lot of shorts and whatever, like whatever you want to call them. It's like you're creating something out of nothing, and I find it to be the most fascinating, like, almost not horrible, but it is extremely difficult. A lot of people compare making a movie to like going to war, because you're kind of in the trenches, and you're putting your all into it. Like you're exhausted every night. But the funny thing is that, and I don't want to belabor this. I mean, maybe we'll be talking about this for a few weeks here and there, because I do have some fun little stories. But I yeah, I would say that there was a little bit of like, there has been a little bit of Stockholm syndrome, and I found this to be a really interesting conversation with the rest of the crew. It's like you're like, you can't wait to go home. You want to wrap, you want to be done, because it hurts. It's just like, so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
But then you kind of weirdly miss it. It's like you have this weird kind of like, and Stockholm syndrome, if you don't know what it means, is that sort of like, it's really referred to like if you got kidnapped or you were a hostage and you were kind of a victim by some captor. And then so you get these feelings of like affection toward this negative thing. So it's
Right.
like,
And getting away is not necessarily what you want to do, even though
no,
you know you should do it.
exactly. And so what I had to do, which I think we all have to do in these roller coaster, the ups and the downs of life, this is just more of like a metaphor, is that, I kept having to keep my eye on the prize, because there were days that were really hard. And then there were wonderful days where I was like, oh, this is all worth it now. Like, yeah, yesterday was the pits, but like today made it all worth it. And so it's just these weird, it's like very polarizing, and it's like, I think in a way this torture that we do to ourselves, whatever it is you do for work. I mean, you can compare this to a lot of other things. But it makes you feel alive, It's like you put yourself through something and you come out on the other end, and it just makes you feel like further along in life. It gives you this sense of like being like you're alive, And so that's been a very interesting feeling over the last few days. And so yeah, so again, like, it was an extremely creative project. I was so proud to be part of, and I enjoyed the slog because of that. And I think seeing it come out next year, which hopefully all goes well, will be such a cool experience, really. And we did see
Well,
some
and you're a
footage.
warrior, Heather. I mean,
Thanks.
I know that you wouldn't call yourself that, but you really are.
Thank you.
And I think anyone who knows you knows that your work ethic is off the charts.
Sometimes
And
to a fault.
well, sure, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I think it's gonna be great, and I think that you've you've had some tough times over the last month plus, but you've also kind of felt alive again.
Yeah, and I totally, I have a new appreciation for my seat warmer in my car, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, there was just, and it was just like early morning, like 5 a.m., first wave on Sirius radio, just like all playing all the hits. And yeah, there was just this like this satisfaction in the slog that I really enjoyed. And I also realized, I'll say one more thing, is that, we're getting a little older. We're kind of in the midlife, if you will. And I think I have noticed, like, just like the subtle ravages of age. We go to bed a little earlier. We might not be able to like have an activity during the day and at night and like feel good the next day. But I was proud of myself as like how much I put myself into this, and how I was like, I am strong. Like, I think I was sort of thinking maybe I'm not as strong as I don't know, used to be, but I stepped it up, I stepped up to the challenge, and it was cool to see that. I really
Yeah.
was, I wanted to do as best as I could. And I think I did. I tried. So, so yeah, so that's that. So now I'm back.
Well, I cannot wait to see the reaps of your rewards. I don't
I
know,
know,
even know,
totally.
like I just want to watch the movie.
Yeah, I know it's funny. A lot of people, when is it coming out? Ah! And we actually had a wrap party on Saturday, and um, we actually played like a few clips, and boy, was it funny. And I'm not just saying that. I was actually, I knew it was gonna be funny because I've read the script, but actually seeing the clips, it was very laugh out loud. I'm really excited. Yeah, I don't know what it's all gonna look like as like a, maybe a 90-minute plus movie. Maybe it won't be
Yeah.
that much, but yeah, it'll be really a trip. And again, the people that I was working with too, I mean, extremely talented, cool people. And to be in a slog with them, that's the other thing, is like you are at war, you are on the same team, but you're still at war. You're getting muddy, and it's like it's weirdly satisfying. Anyway, more about that, down the road. I know that I have a lot of like really cool little stories that'll probably pop up. I can't remember any at the moment, but we'll keep talking.
Well, we're glad that you got through it. Got through the
And
slog
Sarah, what I have to say, like, Sarah and I are used to, I mean, we still share our Wordles every day, even during the movie. And I had
every
really
day.
terrible
Every day.
Wi-Fi.
Yep.
I somehow made it work. And I think most days sent over my Wordle score, and we had like a little back and forth. Not as much conversation as we usually have about like, you know, the,
Yeah,
the
why'd you choose that word?
yeah, yeah. Like usually we're just like we get into the weeds about all these things, which is super fun. And I missed it. And I missed you, Sarah. And I'm really glad to be back. And I know a little bit about what's going on with you or what's been happening in the last month, but I'm back, and I'm here, and I want to hear all about it.
Oh, thanks, Heath. Yeah, so, and apologies if I cry. Really don't want to. But, um, so, come on, Sarah, you can do this. Um, yeah. Um, so, I've also been a little underground, for health reasons. And, and I'm gonna get it together, don't worry. Um,
Take
I
your
got
time.
it. I got it. So the last time, I think maybe even the last podcast that we did, I had said, well, I'm sick again. I don't really know what's going on. And I know a lot more about what's going on right now. And just to be, very, very candid with everybody, I will be starting chemotherapy in just over a week. Um, Gotta love holiday season.
Oh,
Boy, is it fun. Um, and a lot has kind of transpired in a short amount of time. I think that I had told people that I had to get surgery to get some lymph nodes taken out, and I did. That happened in October, and the news was sort of good slash bad. The good news was that, and anybody who knows anything about breast cancer, I mean, please reach out to me because I love to talk to you. But 26 lymph nodes were taken out, and two were cancerous. That is good news.
wow.
It could have been 20 of them were
Mm-hmm.
cancerous, and that would have been real different.
Mm-hmm.
But just the two, and I'm healing from surgery. Okay, it was kind of touch and go for a little bit, but it's fine now. But what is happening now is that I am doing chemotherapy and potentially radiation after that. So, the details of that are like kind of not that important for the purposes of our conversation right now. But I'm really scared. And Heather, I know that cancer has touched you very closely, family and friends, as it has touched my life as well. And what kind of like, I guess I wanted to, instead of just talking about, how I'm scared, because that's obvious, and we can talk about that all later once it gets going. But what I wanted to touch on a little bit is how people react to other people's grief. And when my father died in 2004. He died of cancer. It was not breast cancer, it was stomach cancer, but it had metastasized and gotten really bad. And I at the time I wasn't a child, but I was 27, 28, I think, when he died. And I was somewhat ill-equipped to kind of really, take control of like how I felt about the whole thing. What I did was I was like, we are good, we are good, we are good, until we weren't good. And then I had to deal with those things. That is something I still deal with every day. Some days more than others. But to kind of go through that yourself really takes on a new life. It really, I think about, what he must have felt and how, maybe I wasn't quite there for him in the right ways because I was a kid. Well, I wasn't a kid, but I was young and I just didn't know. Like, nobody teaches you how to do this stuff.
No, they don't.
And I think that that is something that I think about a lot. And I say this knowing that my mother, who is very healthy and happy and, is my absolute champion and is 100% there for me at all times. I have a lot of friends who also are. So, I mean, I am not alone. Not alone at all. But all that said, there is kind of a weird feeling of like, man, you don't really know how this feels until it's you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I that's why I think it's so hard for people to say the right thing because they're not
Right.
exactly there. And even if they, I've been through a lot of loss the last couple of years. And, I remember, kind of running into my dad, like on the property where he was, you could tell he was really deep in thought about stuff. And, there was only yeah, you kind of struggle I wanted so desperately to be the most strong rock and, most comforting person for him. And I tried my best, but you're right. I'm sure it's very lonely, even though you are surrounded by love, and all these people who, are there for you. Like, you have no time of the day that someone's not going to be there for you. But it still feels
Totally.
like
Yeah,
it's your battle to fight.
it is. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It is a lonely experience. And you can have, people being like, what do you want? You want a casserole? You want some flowers? You want, this or that? It's like, yes, that's all very nice, but it doesn't like change anything. It like doesn't erase what is happening. And anyway, I will not to I mean, clearly Sarah's doing all that great these days. But just to, just to, if you're curious, I will, yeah, be starting chemo, and it's going to be pretty intense. Chemotherapy is very different for a lot of people who go through it, depending on what kind of cancer you have. We don't all have the same chemotherapy. This is a lot of stuff that I've learned recently. And what I'm going to have is pretty intense, and I'm probably going to lose my hair. And I'm gonna, I have, there's a thing called a cold cap. If you know about it, you know about it. I'm gonna try that in order to save my hair. And that may or may not work. It just, nobody really knows, and it's funny, somebody said to me the other day, they were like, "Oh, Sarah, like all you should really care about is just like being healthy. Like, who cares about your hair? Like, it'll grow back." And that's true. That is true. But I'm kind of vain about hair, turns out. I just never really had to think about it before.
Yeah.
And I don't even really have great hair. Like, my hair is like super thin to begin with. And I diet, and I take care of my hair. And yeah, I think that whole thing going away is just a kind of a wake up call about what is important in life.
Yeah, definitely. And you've always had long hair. Your hair has been something that I even remember, I'll never forget, like just way back when, I mean, when we were in the 20s and we were, footloose and fancy free. And I remember we were in like some
20s.
parking lot or something. I'm trying to remember where it might have been in San Francisco, but you used to have very long hair and you'd put it in braids and like kind of messy braids, like loose braids, or like one braid. I remember just, yeah, I think we, I know what you're saying, and it's also something that it almost like protects you or covers you, and it's a security blanket in a lot of ways. We get used to things, but yes,
Yeah.
whoever said that to you obviously is very, very right. What is important is that you get through this and you get healthy on the other side, and everything will grow back. Maybe you won't lose it. Maybe you won't. Like you
Yeah.
said, everybody has a different reaction, and it's a time to shed and be reborn in a lot of ways, and I know that this is.
That's a nice way to think about it, honestly. It really is.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like I know this is sort of, I apologize in advance if I'm not saying the right thing, but I think that there will be silver linings. There will be something that comes out of this that will bring you to that next
Those silver
place.
linings probably are my hair growing back,
Yeah,
because
but
I'm
also
fucking gray.
but you're
But
also gonna
okay.
have like a new, like your like vision, your eyesight is gonna change. You're gonna see the world in a different way. You're going to grow as a person during this, like you will come out of this on the other side, probably with a better, like lust for life. Like it'll just, you will change. And I think you will 100%, some of that will be very positive, 100%. So you can kind of
Yeah.
look forward to that, like the eye on the prize thing, like get through this, be
Yeah.
healthy. And
Yeah.
obviously, I shouldn't even have to say it, but like, anything you ever need, I'm here.
I know. I know. And I definitely have a huge support system, of family members and friends who care very much, and I am super lucky to have that because I can't really imagine doing this if you didn't have
Yeah.
those people.
Oh my gosh.
Like I think it would, that would be a pretty dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a dark place anyway, but it is, I'm lucky, and I know that I am lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're gonna do our best.
Yeah, that's all you can do. And, you know, we're all here for you
Thank you.
100% through
Thank
this
you.
darkness. We'll hopefully try to
Yeah.
bring you some bright light.
I know. I mean, not to bring everybody down as we're coming back, in episode 167, but yeah, I mean, this is just the fucking reality
It's just life.
that
And
that is
yeah.
happening. Yeah. And I know it's so funny. I go to this dog park with Otis and a lot of other people are there with their dogs, and we've all
Mm-hmm.
gotten to know each other. And one of the guys who is there with his dog was like, "Oh, I know him enough to like kind of tell him what's up," because he was like, "Where have you been?" I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, at Kaiser Hospital every 5 days, for the last month." But he was like, "Oh, so and so just went through this.
Mm.
You should talk to her." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, okay. I don't know." Like it's a funny thing where you're like, I kind of want to talk to a random stranger about this sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I also like don't want it to like be this thing that now I have to do in case it's
And like
like
maintain or
not
something.
the right, yeah, not
Yeah.
the right sort of conversation or, whatever. Um, and he had said that to me recently. And I saw him yesterday and he was like, did you get a hold of so and so? And I was like, not yet. I don't know. And he was like, Sarah, do it. Like, won't you feel so much better? And it's like, this is actually kind of what gets me about this stuff is like it is helpful to talk to people who have been through similar things
Mm-hmm.
as you,
Yep.
but not to the detriment of like your own mental stability.
Of course. Of course.
And like sometimes when I'm like, I don't like, no, I don't want to talk to a stranger about her breast cancer. Like, I
Yeah.
can't, like that's actually not helpful. I kind of know what I'm doing and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That is, that is tough. And I really, shout out to anybody who has gone through anything. Like, it doesn't even have to be cancer. Anything that just kind
Health
of
scares.
health scares, yeah, where you have to just think about that in front of everything else that you used to think about,
Yeah.
like it comes before anything that brings you joy,
Yep.
and you have to do that first,
Mm-hmm.
and that is really hard.
Maybe though you could kind of flip the script and like, wouldn't you? I mean, after going through this and you've already gone through a lot and you have more to go through, but talking to strangers who are starting out on this process and are very scared. I mean, you could really bring a lot to those people's lives. Kind of just like flipping it around. Like maybe I understand. I mean, yeah, sometimes you don't even want to talk about it, but maybe
Yeah.
some of these people who are strangers, and I was actually just listening to a podcast about this similar thing. It was an NPR podcast, and they were talking about the holidays and losing family, or losing things in life, and you have to kind of you know pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and that there's a lot of people that can be considered family, whatever, like going through your grief, and then like meeting strangers even can bring you so much love and joy and a stranger could become like a family member. And, you just never know. You never know. And I
Yeah.
would just say, whenever you're in the mood, try to take leaps of faith, but obviously protect yourself at the same time. If you're not in the
Yeah.
mood, you're not in the mood, and that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you. And I just know a lot of people out there are kind of like nodding or saying like, well, I also have advice and, we'd love to hear from you
Always.
for sure. I'd have such a good day.com would be an easy way to get a hold of us. Our emails are always open.
They are.
So are our DMs. But anyway, so that's what's going on over here. It's gonna be a bumpy few months over at the Lane household. It just is.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it and it's gonna be hopefully okay. And, I I think I once said on the show, like, I don't feel like a warrior and I still don't, but like I will.
Oh, you
I'm
will
gonna
be.
I will fight and
You will step
you
up.
know and we'll
You
and
have
we'll
to.
we'll see how it goes. Yeah, exactly. Like what choice do I have? Like
Well,
what am I gonna do? Like
I
lay down and
also,
die? Like
no.
no.
And I think, Sarah, like one thing that that is so always tried and true about you is like you do your research. Like you're intellectually, you want to understand what's going on around you. You've always been that way with like your technology and all your like, your interests. And you'll kind of really geek out. You go like down these long roads of like just like knowing everything you can, every detail about something. And you've done the same thing about this, like really understand what is happening to your body, what is going on, what is the treatment, and really kind of just like knowing the science and the medical, like all the details, and like really studying it, and that is warrior to me. Like you want to be educated. You don't want to leave one stone unturned. Like you want to know every little last thing about this. And I feel like you're going to have a lot to offer people after this. So I wanted to mention too that, y'all out there, our patrons, have been so incredibly supportive, and we really cannot tell you. I mean, I feel like we're a broken record telling you how much we appreciate you, but a lot of you wrote in to see how we're doing, specifically Sarah, and that you missed the show, and you hope Sarah's doing okay, and hope you can get back to it. And really, so thank you so much for all the love and support, and keep it coming, because it's going to be a rocky couple months, but we're going to record as much as we can, because we love doing this and we love you. So yeah, thank you in advance, and forever.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Oh boy. Well, I'm a crier.
I
I
know, it's
just,
okay.
I cry.
Cry it up.
Um,
Cry it
yeah.
up.
Well, trust me, I do.
Is there any,
Um,
actually, I'd like to hear from you on, since you and I always talk about what we're watching, is there anything that has been bringing you any sense of joy, or even something dark that maybe you've just indulged in? I'd love to hear what you've been watching in the last month.
well, that I love my reality shows. I wouldn't say that anything that I would ask people to watch, but Andor, I'm new to Andor. That's the Star Wars show, and my issue is that like I get like very comfy and cozy in bed, and I'm like, oh, let's like watch an episode of Andor, and then I fall asleep like 10 minutes in. So then like in the morning, like I'm like, why is like my like Apple TV remote like by me? Like, oh God, what happened? You know? And I'm like, oh shit. Like Andor, like it played like four episodes, but I
Wow.
just
You didn't
slept through
watch
the
all of it
whole
though.
dang thing. No, no, I didn't watch any of it. And so like, I keep like going back to the beginning and trying to like watch it again. But it's like the same thing where I'm like, okay, comfy cozy, like Sarah had like some pizza for dinner, yum, 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 like can't wait. Like I love Star Wars. And then I fall asleep. So still trying to get through that. But I like the show.
Yeah, I'm so out of the loop. It's funny because I would, when I was home, because I did stay in a hotel sometimes when we were really, really far, but I'd get home, let's say, I don't know, 8 o'clock, and, wouldn't eat dinner, just sit and watch something for half an hour. I mean, I couldn't even enjoy watching anything. It's like, yeah, I couldn't because I was so tired and I would just like have to rewind it and rewind it. So I just kind of gave up and, just kind of go to bed early. But have you been watching The White Lotus, the new season?
I have. I have.
What do
In
you think?
fact, I'm caught up
I'm not.
as of last night. It is, I don't know. It's fun.
Like the first season, it's really good. I thought it was a great. I love the opening sequence with the music, and it's a cute show. But I think stretching it into a second season was a little bit of a stretch. There isn't a lot of plot. It's just sort of these like lives of these wealthy people and sort of some scandal and stuff. It's almost like it's a bit of like a soap opera, I think, and that's fine. That's fine.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know some people who are like, "Oh my God, I love The White Lotus." And I'm like, I mean, I'm watching it. I'm there.
Yeah.
Um I don't know. Like it just sort of like makes me feel gross, sort of.
It does. Me too. I
At the
know.
same
It's
time,
why is that? I wonder.
well, because of the content. Like it's like, oh, okay, like well, I mean, no spoilers, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's,
It's kind of yucky
a
sides of
lot of like
people.
weird sex going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like, and like unhappiness, a
Yeah.
lot of unhappiness.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Totally.
And yeah, like I feel like, oh man, was I ever at a hotel where I felt this horrible about myself? Thankfully, the answer is no. But I've definitely been like I just want to go home.
Yeah. Totally.
Like that feeling. So like sometimes I feel that way when I'm watching the show.
Yeah, I totally feel the same way. Where it's like sort of these uglier sides of people that are being displayed. But yeah, actually, speaking of, we got an email from our buddy Ron in Edmonton, Canada, which
Hey, Ron.
or was it, yeah, Edmonton. So he went on some trip through Wyoming. He's just kind of writing his like little diary entry to us, which he writes us fairly often. And he was driving through Wyoming on his way back to Alberta, and he spent some time with some family in Colorado. He went trick or treating and all that stuff on Halloween, and he was telling us how like they were offering a lot of treats for adults at the door when you knock on the door and you ask for candy, and he was getting tequila shots and beers and jello shots and all these
Wow.
things, and
Really?
he thought that was
I
kind
did
of
not
novel.
realize Thanksgiving
Maybe it's a
or
new thing.
Halloween was like, like a way for people to get ripped.
I mean, aren't all holidays?
I
But anyway,
guess.
so he was talking about watching some stuff. He watched the first season of White Lotus. He's watched the George Carlin documentary, which I totally want to see. And at no point he said that in his family were they watching the news. And he said that Wyoming is a very beautiful, pretty state in a kind of barren way. And he was lucky that someone else was doing the driving, so he was able to write to us and gaze out the windows. And he says, "All the best to you too." Thank
Oh,
you for
thanks,
writing in, Ron.
Ron.
It was really sweet.
I gotta assume, not having been to Wyoming ever in my life that I can remember, I know a lot of people go there for the beauty, not necessarily for political views. And take that as you will. But yeah, I I enjoy this from you, Ron. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
enjoy these little like they seem like little diary entries. It's really sweet. And I went to Wyoming when I actually have a picture here on my desk of me and my sister in cowboy boots when we were like five, six-ish, like six and seven. And my grandparents were living there at the time. And so all I remember is desert, my cowboy boots, and going through Utah and floating in the Salt Lake was part of that trip too. And those were my
Oh,
my
that sounds
memories.
pretty cool.
Yeah, but I'd like to go back as an adult. I'm sure that there's a lot to see. But yeah, all y'all just please write in. What's been going on with you guys? I mean, obviously, if all these things have been going on with us, then you
I
guys have
know.
probably have a
It's
lot of
like,
stories too.
honestly, lay it on us,
Yeah, lay it
guys.
on us. Yeah, and we actually,
Truly, I mean, Heather and I are just limping along,
yes,
and it's
as we
gonna be
do.
okay. We're gonna be okay, but like, are you okay? And if not, we'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, Sarah, is that we've been doing the show for years. I mean, years, okay? And that means we're gonna be telling people what's going on in our lives. It's just inevitable.
Indeed.
Yeah, any of you who want to share what's going on in your lives, we'd love to hear. And we do have a few new patrons. We
We
got
do.
we got Dan.
Yay, Dan!
We have Louis or Louis, depending.
Yay!
And we have Gabriel.
And we
So,
have Vicky.
and Vicky. Yeah. Welcome, you guys. Welcome to the
Oh, we're so
show.
glad to have you.
We
Oh
are.
my goodness
We are. It's good to be back.
gracious.
We might be like a little out of practice. Maybe where I felt like gosh, I haven't been at the mic for a minute here, but
Yeah.
God, it feels good. It always feels good to do the show. It's like cathartic and any thoughts, any anecdotes, anything you'd like to share, feel free to reach out. Hi at havesuchagaday.com and send a sweet note to our little Sarah Lane, who's going to be on this journey, but she's going to be a warrior. I know it. And if you ever
Yep.
need to be talked off the ledge too, you know who to call.
I know, I do. And boy, do I appreciate that. And yeah, things are going to be a little up and down, for the next few months. And that's just the reality of life. And that is that is what's happening. What I know is also happening is, Heather and I getting back into the saddle, and it makes me really happy.
Oh, good. Yay, me
Yeah.
too. And we can we
Yeah.
can do the show whenever you want. If we need to switch up days or, especially with your treatment, we will work around you.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to, day by day,
Yep.
when for anybody who's been through chemotherapy before, they're like, oh, well, I could tell you probably a lot of things, but as somebody who hasn't, I don't really know, like my one of my oncologists was like, Sarah, like some of my patients just never even stopped playing tennis the whole time they went through
Wow.
chemo. And I was like, well, that sounds great, but I don't play tennis. So
Well, what about
yeah,
you've got
yeah,
your little sports,
yeah, yeah.
your hiking and your
We're just
Oculus.
we're just gonna have to see.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to see.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do, and TBD.
Yeah, we're going to take it day by day,
Y'all
week
will
to
be the
week.
first to know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody for your patience, and I know it's been for some of you like a little bit like where are they? What are they doing? And Heather's been really busy with work, at cool work. And I've kind of been busy with other things. And, we would like to be back as much as possible, and we will continue to do so.
We will, and we're going to jump back into Discord and say hello to everybody. And we've missed you guys, and so anyone who'd like to join our Discord community, please do. Just hit us up on patreon.com/havesuchagoodday, and we would love to have you part of the conversation. I know I'm really behind. I know we've been talking about Halloween movies, and oh my gosh, I can't believe how weird time is. It's like, I thought maybe we were gone for 3 weeks, but it's been like 6 weeks? I don't know. Anyway, so we're happy to be back in the saddle. Us cowgirls, us little ladies. So in the meantime, before we start recording again next week, I will remain Heather forever.
Oh, you will. And I will be Sarah, and not Heather.
Try to have such a good day.
Inside joke. If you're like new to the show, like we always get each other.
Yeah.
But yes, we love y'all and have such a good day.